All right, guys, we're ready to go. We'll start off with Steve Sibble.
Hi, Coach Bolt. The what I'm wondering is is what should be your team's motivation this week with the Big Ten championship in hand? Now, where does that conversation shift in your clubhouse?
Our motivation is that we need to show up and play our best baseball. That's motivation enough. We've checked off one of the boxes already and winning the Big Ten championship this past weekend. Traveled on Monday. Yesterday was a day off. Today will be our first day of practice. So that's the first order of business and that's what this team's been about all year long, is just show up and be our best today. I mean it's kind of boring, but that's the way that this team has approached it. And our motivation this weekend is that we're going to have a Husker fans out at our ballpark. It's our last home games that are guaranteed this spring, and we need to play well. We're playing a very quality opponent, a very well coached opponent, who's going to be fighting for their postseason lives as well. And our motivation is that we get to play baseball. These guys love to play.
What would you say Michigan's strengths are? I mean, I guess maybe I don't like to use the word concern, but what are your main challenges when you face a team like Michigan?
Yeah, they're a very well-rounded team. They're not a team that's going to beat themselves very often. They've got some big-time veteran presence in their lineup, guys that have been around the block for a while. They're athletic, which helps them on defense. It helps them on the base pass. They've got power arms on the mound. They're a very talented, very complete team, and they have a great coaching staff. I have a ton of respect for Coach Bakich and his entire staff and how they do things. And they're going to be ready to play. There's no doubt about it. They're a team that they've had a lot of comebacks in late innings. They got a lot of different ways they can beat you, and that's why they were picked where they were before the season. That's why they've been a team at or near the top of the standings all year long, and they're going to be a definite challenge.
Thank you.
I think I was next on the list there. Hey, Coach.
Go ahead.
Senior weekend here. I'm just curious, how many seniors do you consider to be on this team? Not just with the fifth-year guys, but some fourth-year guys with extra eligibility, or even some third-year guys who might go in the draft after this. How do you kind of view that going into this thing?
Well, I know on senior day, pretty much everybody that's a fourth or fifth year guy is going to be honored. That's just the simple way to do it, the simple way to go about it. Is just to honor all the guys that are in their fourth or fifth year. And just like any other year, you've got some draft eligible juniors that have a chance to move on and those type of things. So, we've got, I don't know what the number exactly is. I think it's 7 or 8 maybe for senior day. Guys that just have been in the program for 4 years or maybe they're transfers, but just 4 or 5 years. Those guys will all be honored, because you never know what the future is going to hold for any of those guys. So that's how we'll approach it this weekend and go from there.
You've talked a lot about the senior leadership on this team and how it's guided how you guys have done. I'm curious, could you maybe put into perspective how some of those guys have helped, not just with on-field contributions, but maybe the way they've sacrificed some playing time for some younger guys, or how they've invested in guys maybe 4 or 5 years younger than they are, and how maybe that's helped what you guys have done this year?
Yeah, I think it's probably the number one biggest part of a healthy culture with any sports organization is how the older guys treat the younger guys, and how they welcome them, how they if they treat them as part of the team, part of the family right away. That's always probably number one biggest part of it. And when I got here in the summer of 2019, it was very apparent to me that we had high character upperclassmen, young men that had won games. Some of these guys had won the 2017 Big Ten championship, and they've been part of a little bit of ups and downs of college baseball at times. They were great students, great in the community. Just great kids, just a lot of fun to be around. And they welcomed our staff with open arms when we got here, and were very coachable and very willing to kind of just help us establish and continue the good culture that was already here, but just some of the things that we were going to bring to the table and bring to the team in terms of that stuff. They've been very helpful with that. And that's something that these freshmen, when we talked to them at the end of their fall meetings, and they said, man, these upperclassmen have made us feel right at home right away. And that's just huge. It's so important because now these guys, when they get to be their age, they know how they were treated, and they're going to treat the guys the same way. And then that's how you establish a strong culture where everybody feels part of the team, and they play as a team. They're very invested in each other's successes. And that's what this team has showed all year long, is that they're willing to sacrifice for the greater good. And we always tell them, like, nobody's going to remember what your batting average was even 2 years after you're done playing. No one's going to care. They're not, and your teammates are certainly not going to remember 5 or 10 years from now, but they're going to remember how you made them feel. They're going to remember how good a teammate you were. They're going to remember how invested you were in their success. So those are things that good teams have. This team, we've been very fortunate. We've got some guys, the upperclassmen. I just can't say enough great things about those guys and what they've brought to the team.
Coach, I'll jump in. I was just wondering, are you guys still riding high after what you accomplished this past weekend, or what's the time frame in which you let your guys kind of celebrate their accomplishment, knowing there are games ahead?
Yeah, I mean, of course, they're still going to be very excited based on how the weekend went. Like I said, this will be our first day to actually get on the field together again. I sent a text out, just as I do every time when we're coming back on a travel day, to the group and just said, "Hey, great weekend. Or it's time for new challenges and a new week." And deservedly so. A lot of people are going to be congratulating you on your championship. It's well deserved, well earned. But at the same time, remember that you're not as good as you think you are, and you're not as bad as you think you are. People tell you are. You got to stay grounded. And so I have no doubt that that's how we're going to go about it today at practice and prepare for the weekend. And we know that, there's still baseball to be played this weekend, and the games mean something. We need to make sure that, we're ready to play, and I have no doubt that we will be.
And how much did you cherish, what you guys were able to do on the field after the game on Sunday? I'm sure as a young head coach, Will, that that meant a lot to you just personally, and then being able to watch your boys celebrate the way they did.
Yeah, that's something that one of my greatest mentors, Rob Childress, has taught me as a coach is whenever you have a chance to win a championship, the most gratifying thing you can do is watch your team celebrate and see their smiles and hugs and just how excited they are. That to me makes it all worth it. Just all the hard work, all the sacrifices that this year has, we've had to have. I love that part of this job. That's what it's about. I want these guys to come in our program and grow up and become better men when they leave, have a chance to win a championship. And when I get to see them do that and have that celebration and know that their hard work is paid off, there's no better feeling than that. That was a very, very special moment. And, hopefully we can make some more of those this year.
Do you still have the game ball, or who has it?
Yeah, so Roach actually grabbed the game ball. I think Griffin dropped the ball at home plate when he went to go celebrate. And Roach, when I went out there to kind of surround the guys and start giving hugs and handshakes and everything, Roach came up to me and gave me the ball. I've got the lineup card that'll go in the trophy case when we get the trophy from the Big Ten and those type of things. So those are all keepsakes that, we'll cherish.
All right, I guess I'm next. Kind of a big picture question for you, Will. What, this is your first kind of go around through the league as head coach. You've obviously done it as an assistant, but maybe, I guess, how is the league different now from maybe what you saw as an assistant coach?
Yeah, I think it starts with the depth, and I know this year created some of that with the COVID, with guys, rosters are going to be a little bit deeper this year, but I would say the velocity in the league, the pitching in general, top to bottom. I mean, you can go all the way down to the last place team in the league. They've got guys that are going to be low to mid 90s on the mound, and that's something that, in 2014, my last go around, you just didn't see that. You didn't see that type of velocity. You didn't necessarily see that amount of quality arms for each team. I mean, each team is going to go 5 or 6 deep with guys that have plus stuff at least. I'd say first and foremost, that's probably what stands out the most to me is the pitching. I think the pitching has gotten so much better in this league over the course of the last 5 or 6 years.
I guess.
I think maybe just that. I think just seeing, right out of the chute, Purdue's number 3 starter was topping out at 96, and that's not something that you necessarily would have expected. We didn't have a scouting report on him, so we didn't know that was coming. But I think that was probably the biggest surprise, was just seeing, like I said before, it was the top teams had 2 really good arms Friday, Saturday, and probably 2 really good bullpen arms. But there's 6, 7 teams in the league this year at least that have, you could probably 7 or 8 guys that you can run out there that are going to go match up against anybody in the country. So I would say, just the pitching part of it, I think has been, and the depth part has been the biggest change.
Thanks. Evan Bland.
Well, you mentioned Coach Childress. I was just wanting to follow up now that he and A&M are parting ways here. What has he meant to your career, and what do you think his impact has been on college baseball?
Very far-reaching. I would not be here, literally would not be in this position without Rob Childress. And what he recruited me, him and Coach Van Horn, but Rob was kind of the initial one that recruited me at Northwestern State when they were there, and then when they got the job here, stayed with it and convinced me to come up here from Texas and play at Nebraska, and honestly encouraged me to get into coaching when I was done playing, and just really leaned on him in terms of how he approaches the game, how he approaches recruiting, how he the relationships that he builds with his players. He had an amazing 16-year run at Texas A&M. 600-plus wins, a couple of College World Series, conference championships, you name it. He left a legacy, and he followed a legend there in Mark Johnson and made his own legacy. So just love him and everything he's about, and I know he's going to land on his feet eventually, but what he's meant to my career, I just can't even put into words. There's nothing that I could possibly say that would give enough credit to Rob and for what he's meant to me personally in the game of baseball. He's a family man. He's an amazing person first, and that's, I just can't say enough great things about him.
All right, time for 2 more. Mike Babcock.
Yeah, Coach, Big Ten champs, great facility, great fan support. Is it frustrating that Nebraska is not one of the 20 schools being considered to be host to a regional?
I would say that there was definitely some frustration when we found out that we weren't even in consideration. I know it's going to be whittled down to 16, but even in the top 20, we felt like at that point in time that we had proven that we were capable of doing that. The frustration was there. I think our players felt a little bit of it, but like I said, whenever that was, I can't even remember what weekend that was that all that stuff happened, but we addressed it that day, and just like everything else with this group and how we've approached it, move on. Like it's over and done with. There's nothing we can do about it now. We've rebounded and played great baseball down the stretch to the tune of being conference champs. So whatever they want to give us from this point forward, bring it on. That's what we said before the year started. If we sit around and want to feel sorry for ourselves about things, then we're not going to go very far. So bring it on. Let's go. Whatever they give us, we're gonna be ready to go.
All right, last one, Steve Sipple.
Real quick, in a couple lines, Will, you guys got a good base stealing team. Obviously, the numbers show that. What does that say about the personality of a team or a program and its mindset? Just that ability to put up those kind of base stealing numbers.
Yeah, you have to be fearless to do that. You have to have the ability to say, if I get thrown out, I get thrown out. And it's not just from a base stealing standpoint. You got to have the personnel to do that first and foremost. Coach Harvell does an amazing job at picking the spots. having a hunch maybe that a breaking ball's coming and those type of things, and just putting runners in motion, period, just to create, some havoc on the base pass, that the opponents have to worry about. And even if you're not stealing, it could be a fake break. It could be, a hit and run where you go first to third. I think that's the biggest difference to me that I've seen in our group this year as opposed to last year. Was that, I guess probably number one, they're more comfortable in the offense and they're more confident in some of the nuances of it. But also just the lack of the fear of getting thrown out. I think that has completely gone away with this group. And there's been some moments early in the year where, we said, hey, take the extra base, go, I promise you, no one's going to be upset if you get thrown out right there. I'll be more upset if you aren't aggressive than if you get thrown out. We'll get paid back more often than we're going to make outs. And so they've really embraced that, and you have to be fearless to do that. You have to have guys that are willing to put themselves out there when it comes to those things. And, I think you just look to a guy like Jackson Hallmark, who's really transformed his game by being fearless on the bases. And that's really resonated around the rest of the team.
Thank you, Will.
All right, thanks everybody. That's it for today.